Welcome back, Halo followers. Today we're talking once again about Halo Infinite's campaign and multiplayer reveals coming soon, and also what's going on with the open world reveal and RPG type gameplay, and also will there be even multiplayer at this event and the Xbox Game Showcase, theory about the pilot and the storyline in the trailers that I thought was pretty interesting, our wish list, and a little bit of 343 and Halo news. Guys, be sure to smash that like button blue to get this video boosted up the YouTube search results and get it out to other Halo fans. Thanks so much. Let's jump into it. This video is supported by Audible. Snag yourself a free Halo audiobook right down in the description below. To start off with recent Halo news, Unashek, a community manager at 343, posted this saying a Halo Infinite sign went up in the studio. The hype is real. So some people thought that this, meant that 343 was going to work back at the studio now, although it's still too soon. Even David Ellis, a senior game manager on Halo, said, "What is this studio you speak of?" So they probably won't be back in the studio for the rest of development of Halo Infinite, honestly. But at this point, I don't think this means that Halo Infinite is being delayed, even if they don't work at the studio. Alright, so our first comment of the podcast is by Devastator. He says, "I think the gameplay is going to be a lot like Destiny. It's open world with a set object or objective, but lots of small areas to explore and quests to do." So I'm with this guy here, I think, or gal, because the game is probably going to be respecting casual players, people that have played Halo in a certain way, like we all have for a long time. It's actually a good time to remind everyone that Halo 3 ODST kind of had the system that I'm talking about as far as open world goes. And there were a lot of people complaining about how Halo 3 ODST was set up, because essentially what you would be able to do is be able to explore the cities of New Mombasa after the fallout and essentially go wherever you wanted and face enemies, although you still had to get to certain places and explore, scope around a lot. And I think that's what's going to happen with Halo Infinite. It certainly would be interesting if we didn't even know where exactly our next objective was, but the fact that there's beam emitters all over this Halo ray certainly suggests that a lot of the ring is going to be explorable in this open world kind of new gameplay that I'm talking about. And the fact that the July 23rd reveal is already confirmed to have a Halo Infinite campaign reveal, I think that also goes with gameplay. Well, that gameplay is going to show us the highlights of what they have changed and what the campaign is going to be all about to some degree. Although my money is on Reach being in the campaign reveal later this month. I think it just makes sense because I believe that is how the Banished are going to be introduced. I could be completely wrong, and we could actually be introduced on Zeta Halo, and that certainly would make a lot of people feel at home as far as this being a Halo game. It would be important for them to show that Halo Infinite is honoring the original games in this July 23rd reveal. But as far as it being like Destiny or Halo 3 ODST, I think of it like you go from point A to point B, and it's a linear based game, and you have linear assets. Although there's not really walls or boundaries cutting you off from going to your left or right. There's forest and there's rivers and that you can cross, and there's ravines and caves and foreigner structures and ancient human structures, and even what we saw in the concept art back in E3 2018, there are Mayan-like temples because, of course, there's ancient human structures on Zeta Halo. So certainly being able to explore these tombs would be really cool. Exploring these caves and abandoned cities would be really, really neat. And I think rewarding the player for going to these places, even though the linear mission is waiting for them, would be really dynamic and cool, and not require people to play in a new way that they're not used to or comfortable with quite yet, since Halo has always been a linear game besides Halo 3 ODST. I want to stress that to you guys, that Halo 3 ODST is sort of what I'm talking about as far as it being open world. So Existential says, "Does anyone know if these demos will be available on PC? They're only talking about it on Xbox." So I haven't seen anything confirming that it won't be on PC. Essentially, this demo, or these demos, that Halo Infinite might be one of them, by the way. So Halo Infinite might be playable later this month, believe it or not, on your Xbox One at home. Because if you don't know, essentially, E3 was canceled, and there's a lot of games that are usually available at E3, and instead of them being available at E3 only for attendees, well, they're going to be available for everyone. You and me on our Xbox One, all you need is your Xbox and your Wi-Fi connection. Of course, it has to be an Xbox One. It's not going to be on PC because this whole event is about advertising the Xbox Series X. This is about promoting the brand new product of Microsoft. So no, I don't think it's going to be on PC. So Brandon, he says, hold up, hear me out. The Crash Pelican we saw in the first trailer is the pilot's Pelican after what happened at the end of the trailer with the pilot in it. The message panels to the pilots left in the middle room between the cargo bay and cockpit are the same one we see in the Banished trailer, only cracked because of the crash. So some people said this. I don't think it is. I don't think there is any crack really on the pilot ship, because I actually did look at the trailer recently and there's no screen that really fits that exact dimension. But it certainly would be cool for the pilot and the Master Chief to actually face the Banished and to learn of the threat. And I think that might actually be what causes the pilot's ship to be disrupted at the end of the E3 2019 trailer. Because it might not even be Cortana, it might be the Banished. And, even the pilot said not them, as in he's speaking about a group. So maybe he wasn't speaking about Cortana or the Prometheans, he's talking about the Banished attacking them. So I could see that being a possibility, and certainly a big one, as far as the pilot actually ending up on the ring there and crashing somehow after a fight with the Banished in the first cutscene or first part of the gameplay. And speaking of which, that might actually be the first mission, where Master Chief jumps out of the Pelican and boards a Banished ship and fights Banished. That could be what we see on July 23rd. Anyway, Chris M says he has a wish list for Halo Infinite. He says, 1, an open world campaign. 2, comic relief. And this is so important, actually, now that I think about it. Comic relief hasn't really been around in Halo 4 and 5. As far as I've been able to tell, Sergeant Johnson was a great comic relief and kind of, balanced things out as far as how Halo was very dark. And that's something I don't really like about Halo 4 or Halo 5. It was just really dark and gloomy all the time. And it was, it had its own appeal, but still, I feel like every story needs comic relief. But number 3 is mystery. And that is a huge one. That is a huge, huge, huge thing that's already confirmed in Halo Infinite. And I think they've been teasing for a long time. Like, how is Master Chief on this ring? Who are these Marines? How did they crash here? How long have they been here? And what is going on with Zeta Halo? And I think that there is going to be a lot of mystery on this ring Zeta Halo, or Installation 09, the one that Anders was on at the end of Halo Wars 2, that will kind of dive into the history of, foreigners and their past and what they did to ancient humans and the Flood. And I think everything will tie together very neatly and nicely, like it did in Halo Combat Evolved, because essentially I think we have sort of a similar, a very big comparison between Halo Infinite and Halo CE, because we already know Halo Infinite is so-called a spiritual reboot by the boss of 343, Bonnie Ross. And that basically we have the Pillar of Autumn crashing into, Installation 04, and then, dealing with the Flood, dealing with the Covenant stuff. And that seems like the exact kind of thing happening here, where Master Chief may have showed up at Zeta Halo and maybe the Infinity blew up. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe it crashed into Zeta Halo and the whole damn thing blew up and only a few people managed to escape in time. And maybe that was caused by Cortana. Maybe that was the Banished that destroyed the Infinity, which would really show how powerful they are, honestly. Number 4 is kind of weird. I don't know if everyone will agree with this one, is crafting. He says, this is such a huge part of open world gaming now. I get that it's less important in Halo. However, why can't Chief find parts from different vehicles and weapons and forge a vehicle or weapons of his own? So we sort of had like light crafting, if you will, with the Rex system in Halo 5 Warzone. And I think that if 343 did it right and made it a thing that wasn't necessary, and also a thing that didn't disrupt the gameplay too much, where it was like, super important to do, and so people that didn't want to craft and don't think that's a part of Halo will get annoyed and be kind of feel like they're forced into crafting when they don't want to do that for Halo, right? When in doubt, keep things simple and keep things the same. But I know 343 has to change things up and make it more appealable to the wider fan base of just gamers in general, but while also appealing us, the fan base, the people that love Halo and loved how it's been for years. But I certainly want to see some kind of RPG elements in the game if they do it right. I don't know exactly how they could do it right, but I think they should leave armor alone, where Master Chief's armor can't be upgraded. And I say this because it just feels like I feel like that's maybe interacting with the gameplay too much. It might be forcing the players to do things that they don't want to do so much. But upgrading weapons, adding scope on your assault rifle and campaign, going to bases on Zeta Halo and upgrading your vehicle where it goes faster, or having some turret that fires faster or less cooldown, things like that. I could see some Halo fans, most Halo fans, maybe especially people going into the franchise for the first time, could understand and get used to and find some appeal in. Anyway, number 5 is Cortana. Chris says, I don't want evil Cortana. I want the real Cortana back. So unless they change the lore, from my understanding, and there's a lot of evidence based on what I'm about to say here, is that Cortana is like a file on your computer that's been copied, and so much to the point where it's been fragmented and is essentially a virus. So there's got to be something that fixes Cortana from this corrupted state into her soulful original state. But from my understanding, although I don't know if AIs, more or less have a soul as far as humans do in Halo lore, what is a soul even, right? But I think like the heart of her, if you will, has been already killed off. I might be wrong, and 343 might be wanting to address this and maybe had a whole story arc set up for Cortana here, and that might actually be, and I haven't talked about it enough, but in Chief's HUD on the E3 2019 trailer, there was something called SPDR, which is actually a program that is like an external program that can be coupled with an AI that can actually fix an AI if it can't fix itself from a corrupted state to a clean and stable state. So basically, Chief had a program on his suit that can fix AI. Will it fix Cortana? I don't know. Maybe he needs to get Cortana in a chip and convince her, or even steal her from the domain back onto a chip. Is that even possible? Who knows? But Chris also says, Return of the Flood and simple multiplayer experience. And may I add, by the way, big team battle. We already know that 343 Industries is wanting to be all esportsy again and competitive with Halo. And that had massive success with Halo 5 Guardians. I don't think they should stop doing that, but I wish they would focus on the more casual players, because literally there is such a thing as a casual player that wants to play with the stupid tanks and the Banshee and the big team vehicles and like Valhalla and Blood Gulch, which is a bit of what Halo was based on. That's the other half of multiplayer, and it was kind of completely ignored in Halo 5. And what makes me worry about that in the future is that maybe they said that they did multiplayer good in Halo 5, but the story was bad in Halo 5 as well. So they got the multiplayer right in Halo 5, which I don't think they really did. And I'm not so sure that they're going to be changing it much in Halo Infinite, which is kind of worrisome. But Jaden says, the pieces of evidence that is pointed out to confirm open world isn't evidence at all. They are all speculative. Partially egregious example is the light and day cycle. Guess that because the trailer went from light to dark, that confirms open world. That is a huge jump. So, Jaden, you do have a point as far as it being sort of speculative, but I want to say that it isn't also kind of evidence as well. I mean, evidence is in a way kind of speculative. I mean, we have a lot of clear signs that there is going to be an open world, open environment in Halo Infinite. And I think these are just, I won't go over all the pieces of evidence because I went over it many, many times. But the specific example that he's listing here, the light and day cycle, is something I haven't talked about in a long time, but I would say is a pretty clear thing. I mean, you tell me which Halo game has had real-time lighting throughout a level. Of course, we've had night levels, we've had day levels, we've had, morning or sunset levels, but never have they actually moved during the level. It hasn't become, night throughout, just standing there fighting Covenant. And this would be something in a way kind of revolutionary. And it could also be done without the whole 24-hour cycle as well, because not only are we not on Earth, but we're on a Halo ring orbiting some other planet. So the light and day cycle could be kind of dynamic and could be kind of changing rather quickly, like maybe every 12 hours or 6 hours based on where you live in the world would also be kind of interesting. But yeah, so I certainly do think that open world, there's a lot of evidence for open world, and I don't think that it's that much of a jump, honestly. Loki Laffy says, "What's this about RPG elements? I seriously hope that's a joke. I don't want another Assassin's Creed on my hands. I just want old classic Halo back. Edit, I am holding back judgment until I play it. Just hoping that it's not Assassin's Creed Origins, etc." So I think everyone's there with you, Loki, that we're hoping the game is not like more of these recent Assassin's Creed releases, which haven't. I don't know about the most recent one, but yeah, some of them have just not been that great. As far as RPG elements, though, I'm not terribly familiar with Assassin's Creed in its entirety and how it uses RPG elements. But I will say this. I think RPG elements are going to be much less so than the open world aspect to Halo Infinite. And I think it'll be kind of there as kind of a arcadic experience almost added into the game. I could be surprised, and we could get something completely RPG-y. My idea was that maybe there will be solid campaign experience for one mode, just classic campaign, which will be the main campaign for Halo Infinite. And then there's going to be a hybrid that has all the testy, risky kind of experimental features that we are talking about today, like open world to a degree where there's side quests and also like RPG elements and things like that. 343 also could have when you start the campaign or start a mission, you will have an option to say, I want to play this in classic, where it shuts off side objectives, it shuts off side modes, and maybe even people you can run into, or events, or even seeing other players in the world, and you can just play the classic campaign because everything should be set up like that, right? And then you can play the experimental or hybrid mode or whatever they'll call it, where it will have all the features that will make Halo Infinite special, at least as far as what 343 Industries thinks is of it being special, like the RPG elements, customization, customizing armor, customizing skins, customizing all aspects of your gameplay, but also bases and people you can talk to and run into and have dialogue with, and explore and go outside of the boundaries that would not be available in the classic mode, and being able to run into strange events and strange things happening, and also maybe even some hidden cutscenes and things like that. I think giving the player an option, do they want to evolve with Halo, is pretty important here. So Xander says, I'm absolutely thrilled about all these strong possibilities of maybe the greatest Halo game to date, but I am the only one chopping at any bit of information to do with Forge. Yeah, so Xander, there is some news with Forge, if you guys are wondering. Forge is confirmed. And also, we know that it will be so scripty and potentially scripty. It will be so capable, I should say, that it can create a battle royale mode. Probably. That's what one of the developers said a long time ago, but that's literally, we all know about Forge. I don't expect Forge news until about a month or two before release, because it's just one of those things. At least with Halo 4 and Halo 5, we really didn't get much Forge information until release. So CF Master 117 says, where's Lost Wolves? So yeah, I wanted to throw this in at the end, but I'll just talk about it right now. Halo the Lost Wolves is a series I'm working on. It's Halo Reach animated story. It's essentially, in its soul, is a sequel to Reach 2, and how I would do it, and how the people working on it would do it. And I'm pretty much directing the whole thing, although I have a lot of people helping me with some minor things as far as directing, but a lot of story stuff. I have some writers and stuff. And the first episode is actually going to be, believe it or not, about 21 minutes. So I was telling you guys it was going to be 13 minutes. No, it's going to be about 21 minutes, and about 95% of that is animated stuff. It's not just credits or prologue stuff. So I'm really excited to share that, and I'm trying to get it out before the end of this month. So Jovial says, just so everyone is clear, the alternate builds are almost definitely not in the game. They are just a toy thing. So what he's talking about is all the banished products that we saw from Megablocks on the Megablocks product page that confirmed quite a few vehicles in Halo Infinite. There's actually, so we had the Banshee, we have a banished turret, we have the Interceptor, which is kind of I think it's the Scarif from Halo 2, or the Troop Transport. I forgot what the Scarif is actually now. But anyway, or Seraph, am I thinking Seraph? Anyway, So we have a lot of vehicles confirmed for Halo Infinite. We don't know if we are going to be able to fly them. Certainly the Banshee, right, and the other kind of floating hovercraft. But these are, I would say, probably the side products that we looked at are probably going to be in the game as well. And I say that because a lot of those vehicles actually look based off the vehicles that we saw in Halo Wars 2. So they're not just random extra builds for the toys. I think they're also going to be in the game, or at least a couple will make an appearance. Maybe not the Spider Walker, because that looks really different from what we might see in Halo gameplay. That 4 walking leg, kind of mortar looking shooting weapon, whatever. But on the top of it. But anyway, Fateh says, "Get ready." I've been ready for like 2 years. So yeah. I think he's maybe talking about one of the tweets or comments from the devs at 343, or maybe it was me. But yeah, get ready. I mean, we are so freaking close to a reveal, and yeah, I mean, it is now time to get ready. Clear your date for July 23rd. I think we are all going to be blown away. And I kind of hate how they haven't really warmed us up, because it's just going to be that much more intense when we actually see these things. We're all going to be freaking out. I mean, we were freaking out at least I was freaking out at the beginning of this month with the Banished trailer, which really was nothing but a screen with some audio waves on it. But anyway, this guy, I'm not going to pronounce that name. Good video, but I completely disagree. 343 are going to want to distance this game as much as they can from Halo 5. They're going to stay clear of anything to do with the Guardians, Fireteam Osiris, definitely Locke, and I don't even think Blue Team will be used too much, if at all. The trailer will focus on Chief, Cortana, and the Banished only, with these themes and the atmosphere from the Bungie games. All this Halo 5 stuff is absolute suicide from 343. So I agree a little bit with you there, dude. Cortana, Master Chief, and the Banished, I would say, are the 3 pillars of what we're going to see on July 23rd. However, I don't think 343 is going to completely ditch the storyline from Halo 5. I think a lot of us would be really annoyed at it. We know that the game is going to be a spiritual reboot, right? But I think that they're going to do about they're going to have some continuation there from Halo 5, but they got to do it in a way where people can understand, because Halo Infinite, from what I understand and from everything we've read, is that they are trying to make it where the player can actually jump into Halo Infinite and understand what is going on. I think they sort of said the same thing with Halo 5, but that was complete BS. But I think that the same might be true here, because what I was talking about earlier with the pilot and Master Chief showing up outside of Halo, it might be sort of kind of like a mirror to Halo Combat Evolved's beginning. And we're in the middle of this war. In fact, they even talked about that, where veteran players can enjoy the game, but also brand new players will understand what is going on. So that might just be some good writing. They got to keep the details light. So I think you're right here in this comment. I'll just call you D, I guess, DH. But basically, whatever story arc that we had, whatever open threads we have in Halo Infinite, I think are going to be greatly reduced. So think about the Warden. That was sort of like a side thread. The Fireteam Osiris, that was kind of like a story thread. Locke in of itself, and even Blue Team are all threads. I think whatever they do with all this is going to be chopped down about half, so that there will be a continuation feeling from like this is a sequel to Halo 5, but also there's just going to be a lot of storylines that are just dropped. And for me, that makes sense, because Halo 5 was really crowded with things. A lot of things were happening all the time, and there was just a lot of noise as far as the story goes. It wasn't really carved well, and I think that it's going to be much better in this game. And that the atmosphere, I love this part of the comment, the atmosphere from the Bungie games is going to be in the trailer and in the cutscenes. And I agree with that. They are taking inspiration from Bungie finally in really soulful ways, and are getting to the heart of Halo and updating it. And I think that is the whole theme of Halo Infinite for 343 is sticking true to the roots while developing and letting the series blossom in a really organic and fun way that feels like the classic Halo games. It's certainly not an easy task, I imagine, but I'm glad that they're trying to do that now. And before, it seemed like they were trying to make Halo their own thing. But Jay Horn, he says, okay, but the multiplayer though. So yeah, now let's talk about multiplayer a little bit. Multiplayer might actually not show up at this event. And I was talking about there being a multiplayer beta right afterwards, but maybe it might be a campaign experience. There could be a multiplayer beta that could be the demo that we see on July 23rd that will be on our Xbox Ones, right? The playable demo for everyone. But I'm not really quite sure yet, because on Halo Waypoint, they confirmed that get ready, let's jump in, and they showed specifically, they said campaign, it will be a campaign first look. That is what is coming, but they said nothing about multiplayer. So that is concerning, and some people are upset about that. Where's the multiplayer, right? I think it just makes more sense for them to finally catch us up with the story, and then multiplayer could start coming out in August as far as flights or, reveals and B-roll and trailers and stuff like that. I think August would be a good time to start marketing that, considering the game's got to release in like 4 or 5 months, right? But anyway, so to our last comment, Friendly Frag says, it should be pointed out that the Grunt Conscript, Elite Mercenary, and Jackal Freebooter most likely signifies rank and replaces minors in the Banished hierarchy. So basically, the typical rank, the typical Elite or Brute might be called minors, like in the Covenant hierarchy. Just the typical soldiers, right? But maybe in the Banished, since the Banished is more like a militia rather than a whole civilization and, culture and cult, I would say that, that actually makes sense that the Banished army is basically comprised of probably refugees and hires and just conscripts, as they say here, mercenaries, freebooters, people doing this for the payout, people doing this for the money, or might believe in just like the sense of having a fellowship and things like that. And this might actually play over in the gameplay, and it might make the grunts, the elites, the brutes, the jackals a bit more tougher to fight, because they actually got something to win in the fight, instead of being told by the great journey and being kind of forced and tortured into service, like especially like how the grunts were and the jackals a little bit as well. They might actually fight tougher, because they might actually be getting money at the end of the day if they survive and get the loot or whatever it is. The Banished might pay them out for their service and things like that, since we do know that the Banished respect their soldiers much more than the Covenant did. Guys, be sure to snag yourself that free Halo audiobook link down in the description. Sign up is super quick and easy. You can get any book you want on the site for 30 days for free, but I really recommend listening to Halo Evolutions. It has a lot of stories in it, and it's really, really cool. Some of them are just out of this world. Anyways, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to smash that like button blue as well, and boost this video up the YouTube algorithm, up the search results, and it helps get it out to other Halo fans. Thanks so much. I appreciate the viewership and also subscription. Hopefully you're subscribed and joining me on the journey and excited just like me for the July 23rd reveal. It is going to be insane, and it might be too much, so be sure to bring a couple extra pair of pants to wherever you're watching the event, in your house or with friends. Might be a little weird with your friends, so maybe just stay home for this one. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one soon. Peace.